Alright boys, what's up, how's it going? Welcome back to another stream/video. We just reacted to Moist Critical's review of Cyberpunk, but now let's see what Gigguk has to say. I loved it. I gave it an 8.69 out of 10. I think I actually gave it an 8 on the podcast yesterday. I just watched it yesterday. I enjoyed it. I could see a couple criticisms, but honestly, overall, I think it's refreshing to have a 10-episode series with a beginning, a climax, a fucking end, characters that I like. And some of the, I feel like Trigger was really good at making things look cool, and they fucking nailed that. But they also landed some of the deeper things that I think, I don't know, I think Kill la Kill fell short on. Or at least I didn't like as much with Kill la Kill.
Where the fuck did this come from?
Seeing the explosion of anime in the past 10 years was bloody exciting if you were an anime fan before. Suddenly, this niche little medium you loved was starting to get noticed by a wider audience, and that was a good thing, because this must have meant so many more great anime that would have never been made before might just be on the horizon. The small, fan-run companies we followed got an injection of money they needed. Big players were starting to get into the game. There was so much potential for cool projects, so much promise of the medium being taken to the next level. It was hectic, it was exciting, the possibilities seemed endless, and what did we get?
We've been preparing our whole lives for this day.
One thing we did get was more anime, but that didn't necessarily mean that was more great anime. The shows you wanted to watch were split across a million.
I don't know, man. I feel like there's 19 billion isekai, all on different platforms. Crunchyroll is looking kind of empty, and yet that's where I watch anime because everything else is fucking locked behind Netflix and fucking Disney Plus model. The community is a little bit lacking because of that as well. Like, what happened to JoJo Fridays? No one talked about JoJo's when the new part drops because everyone watches it in a day or two. People talk about it for a weekend, and that's about it. I don't know.
Different streaming platforms, and some of the shows you were excited for had all their possible hype killed when the wrong platform picked it up. This wasn't on the fine print of the expectations we had, but every so often there comes along a project that makes me remember, alright, maybe anime getting worldwide recognition wasn't such a bad thing after all. Cyberpunk
Watching a 10-episode series like Cyberpunk made me remember why I love anime.
Edgerunners might be one of the most exciting collaborative projects I've seen in years. Coming from Studio Trigger and CD's Nuts Project Red, this was the type of project we were waiting for. Following their very successful launch of Cyberpunk 2077, CD Projekt Red obviously saw potential for more stories to take place in the world they had crafted, and in the process might have accidentally made one of the best things to come out all year. Continuing this unexpected but wonderful trend of animated...
Oh, that's right. Arcane was fire too. I loved it. Looking forward to the new season.
Video game adaptation slapping harder than an Asian parent who'd just been given a bad report card. That's right, guys. I'm a real gamer. Not because I play them, but because I watch them. Which is the perfect time to talk about today's sponsor, Honkai Impact 3rd. Oh, what the hell was that segue? Honkai Impact 3rd is an anime game from the two characters, the second... And don't forget, we also have summer outfits. But use the link in the description card for free. Thank you to Honkai Impact 3rd for sponsoring us today. And now,
yeah, if you
back
haven't,
to Cyberpunk.
I might be spoiling things mid-video here, so if you haven't, mute the stream.
Cyberpunk Edgerunners is a canon side story in the Cyberpunk 2077 universe, taking place in the future, in the dark, gritty, violent dystopia nightmare called the United States of America. I mean, Night City. David is a kid just trying to survive in the city, attending a prestigious school.
Dude, haven't seen an anime with a main character named David, Lucy. Love to see it.
Being supported.
But then, the organization controlling everything from the shadows, the upper class, Arasaka Academy. Arasaka.
By his mum despite her struggling income. But after getting into a massive car accident, David comes to find his mother has passed away because she can't afford proper health care. Wait a minute, guys, that was a joke. That was a fucking joke. You weren't meant to take that seriously. From there on, he has to resort to a life of crime, meeting Lucy.
Yeah, I think they did a good job, like, setting up. I don't know if the mom's death hit super hard for me, but it was, like, kind of muted in a way, like someone mentioned in chat earlier, where, I don't know, it made you really realize, like, how the world was, like, the difference in classes and how money's kind of everything in this universe. And, like, literally, like, on site, like, paramedics are showing up, and it's just like, oh, they're not gonna, like, really treat the mom immediately because she doesn't have premium insurance. Versus some of these other guys with premium insurance, SWAT teams are coming down if they start bleeding. Like, it's just insane. And then even like in the hospital, it's like, oh, it only covered. I'm just someone. I'm sorry, Soul. It only like her insurance only covered so much, and it was just like, oh, it's just another day in the fucking city. But David's reaction and how he reacts makes us care, you know. And then yeah, we go on to seeing him having to steal to make money and get involved into some interesting stuff and chrome up.
A skilled cyber hacker and her fellow gang members. He joins their crew, taking on missions so they can survive together in the underbelly of Night City. Alright guys, I've got a confession to make. I am not actually a gamer. I lied before. I don't play video games.
Think you can get away?
Shut up. I hadn't played Cyberpunk 2077 yet, and my only prior knowledge about it was that
It was a dumpster fire.
the game was a little buggy. So I went into this completely blind, and while I'm sure I missed some Easter eggs here
What
and
a
there, it
beautiful
did not ruin my
fucking
enjoyment
city and aesthetic they developed in this anime, man.
at all. The world of Night City is stunningly brought to life under Trigger's eyes. Neon lights illuminate the concrete jungle with a fluorescent color palette. You can smell the stench of stale piss reeking from the back alleys. Every random passerby feels like they have a story to tell. I think people forgot that beyond the glitches and T-posing, CD Projekt Red actually crafted a truly vibrant world with so much potential for interesting stories to take place. Edgerunners might not have Keanu Reeves, but it does have this guy.
I do not pay you to think.
That's a voice actor from Breaking Bad.
I pay you to check the boxes off my list.
Wait a minute. Is that my man Gus from Breaking Bad?
But you can call me sus.
The first thing anyone will probably notice is Studio Trigger's footprint stamped all over the show. You know, as much as I like Trigger, recently when I saw their name attached to a project, especially if it was being led by this man, Hiroyuki Imaishi, I was starting to think I was watching a one-trick pony. I remember the first time I saw Gurren Lagann, I was blown away by the sheer absurd, over-the-top hype contained in it. Then I saw Kill la Kill, and I was slightly less blown away by the sheer absurd, over-the-top hype contained in it. Then I saw Promare, and I was puffed away by the sheer absurd over-the-top hype contained in it. And then I saw they were doing an episode of Star Wars Vision, and I was like, is there going to be some sheer absurd over-the-top hype contained in this? Yep. There it is. Now, did Edgerunners have some sheer absurd over-the-top hype contained in it? Yes. But it was actually kind of muted in comparison to all that other stuff. I mean, this may look ridiculous to you, but this is just a standard driving experience in India. There are still flashes of that classic balls to the wall Trigger hype, but I feel like they had to restrain themselves a bit more than usual due to this being a canon story in a pre-existing universe. But because of this, they needed to find more creative ways to up the ante aside from going into space.
I really liked how like we saw his movement when he's going that fast, rather than him just fucking teleporting behind people and like just snapping their neck, you know?
Going into space, or my personal favorite, going into space. And I feel like by restricting them, you got to see a whole new side shine through. Oh, for fuck's sake. This, in my opinion, is one of their best looking shows to date. The gunplay on display is absolutely insane. David has this special ability to go bullet time, creating an army of after images for every movement
Yeah,
he
I
makes.
love the after image choice.
Which melts my mind every time I see it, but most notably, this is the first time I've seen them tackle an old school hyper-violent show, and you could tell they had so much fun breaking all the shackles that usually limit them. Bodies get blown apart in an explosion of bright red blood, intestines go flying out, bits of skull and eyeballs rain down with every shotgun blast. Seeing this type of hyper-violence being done with the Trigger flare was a brutally beautiful sight I didn't know I needed until now. Trigger were already the masters of giving their shows a unique
There were
visual
definitely a couple scenes where it's like they're standing in the doorway and there's 20 people fucking shooting their guns. It's like, how aren't you hitting their shots? Or are they just all chromed up that the bullets are bouncing off? That always bothers me when, like, I have two pet peeves with animation or like choreography of fights. One, when the attacks seem like they're not even gonna remotely hit the person. They're just trying. It looks like they're just fucking swinging, and they're just like, it's just like attacks that are in between the real ones, just to like throw in some animation. It always drives me crazy. It's like the guy did a sick backflip, like fucking triple swirl to get away from it, but the original attack didn't even look like it was gonna fucking hit the person. It's like, that is one of my pet peeves. Another pet peeve: protagonist standing still, 20 people shooting guns, and no one could hit a shot. You know, show us a little clip of like the bullet hitting off of their fucking chrome, or have them be behind cover and pop in and start fucking doing shit. Like, there were just 3 guys standing in the doorway. I know they use technology to like fucking stun them or something, but there was a few times where I'm just like, I just fucking animate them behind like a wall.
Identity, but I feel like even here, everything was polished and sharpened to a level even further beyond. I remember the first time I booted up Persona 5, I was enamored by just how much work must have been put into its aesthetics. The striking color palettes, the battle animations, the text messages, even the individual menus, everything down to the smallest details seemed to be meticulously crafted to fit this visual style. It was just so fucking cool, and this is the exact same feeling I get when watching Edgerunners. Every frame is oozing with a visual flair most shows could only dream of achieving. There were some scenes with so much going on, it felt like my brain couldn't process all the stimuli it was receiving.
For real.
This wasn't the rule of cool. This was the rule of fucking cool, and it was so refreshing seeing this team's insane creativity being pushed to a level I hadn't seen before. Then we got the soundtrack. You know how in most anime you got your normal background music, then during the season finale or some shit, it'll hit you with a special insert song they've saved up just for this moment, and it's beautiful. It elevates the moment, and it kind of feels like it turns the scene into a narrative music video. Yep. Cyberpunk has that for like every episode. This OST is just overflowing with such fantastic tracks that at some point I feel like they had too many to work with. There'd be a throwaway scene of just two characters talking and I'd be like,
Only gonks talk down to
Hey,
others.
shut up for a second. Can we turn this music up? The song's kind of a banger.
from synthwave to metal to electro to fucking reggae. So many scenes felt like I was watching a stylistic music video. It was like I was watching Fooly Cooly all
Random thing I just want to say. Also, considering it's only 10 episodes, it's kind of crazy that I really ended up liking a lot of the characters, like quite a bit.
over again. And then there's the writing.
So you guys are cyberpunks, aren't you?
Oh, they're mobbing! He's going full mob!
There was a few pieces of dialogue that I'm just like, who wrote this?
Of everything, this was probably the least strongest aspect, but I'm only saying that because everything else was absolutely stellar. Sure, there were some awkward pieces of dialogue here and there,
I'm built different.
Bro, I'm a different breed. Of what, a chinchilla?
but honestly, everything was
Yeah, that was cringe. But I do like the fact that it's like, even though he was quote unquote special, I've said this before in another video that I was watching, but what was I saying? Even though that he was quote unquote special, at the end of the day, everyone's human. And I like that it wasn't like he had a get out of jail free card at the end by kissing Lucy. It was like eventually he's gonna hit his limits, even though he's a little bit more immune to being chromed up than other people. Like everyone has something that they're better at or good at. By the end of the day, we're all human. I like that. I also like that David always made his own choices, even though he was sacrificing himself. It was like, oh, Nicewig just invited me to play. Yes, he didn't get a free pass. He was still a human with limits. And the story kind of went on its own adventure because he was doing whatever the fuck he wanted to do rather than falling into the linear plot line. I'm back. Let's finish watching this video real quick.
complaints saying that there wasn't enough runtime and it kind of felt rushed, but I didn't get that feeling at all. To me, it didn't feel rushed, it just felt dense. This is 10 episodes, packed to the absolute brim. From start to finish, the series rarely gives you a chance to catch your breath. Shit's constantly going down, situations are always evolving, and while it would have been nice to have an extra episode or two with a bit of downtime here and there, never once did it feel like a
I
major
don't know if I would have wanted a little bit of downtime. I would have wanted maybe some backstories or fleshing out a couple characters like Maine or something. But even like Maine, like his relationship with David, the father-son thing they had going on, like I fucking cared about him. I thought he was a badass, cool character, and I cared when, spoilers, the thingamajig happened.
story beat wasn't earned. And yet, even through everything, they still found time to make a standout episode. Episode 6 might be one of the best episodes of anime I've seen in years. From the opening
Beautiful.
second, something feels off. The air feels heavy. You find yourself being on edge. Everything is draped.
I love the contrast of this world that he was seeing when he was going through cyberpsychosis versus the city that Cyberpunk takes place in.
an air of unease, and you can't put your finger on exactly why, like you're standing in the eye of an unseen storm. And what follows is a 20-minute psychedelic trip down into insanity that simply left me speechless by the end. It was an absolute masterclass of direction and cinema, and it's episodes like this that reminds me why the medium of animation is so fucking incredible. Even with a shorter episode count, it didn't affect how invested I was in everything. It's been a while since I've seen an ensemble that left such a big impression on me so quickly. Everyone feels memorable without feeling like they're just a walking trope. From looks to personality to attitude, each character is totally distinct from one another and have this group chemistry that's infectious. Maine walks in as the charismatic father figure of the group, David's that eager younger brother, Rebecca was one of the more minor characters, and yet with just a few scenes, she was able to leave a stronger impression.
You could tell that she really cared about David and like what was best for him. Not just because like she liked him, like she even cared like well, getting him to Lucy, you know, in his time of need. Like even she stuck with us.
Most characters do with hours of screen time.
Oh, David, my man, what's going on?
It's series like this that shows you don't need hours of backstory to get attached or like a character. Everyone felt like they were a part of this dysfunctional family and there would be a gaping hole without them there. And you get just as emotional when some of the major events happen. Watching this reminded me of the feeling I got when watching Cowboy Bebop. I didn't need Spike, Faye or Jet's backstory to get attached to this crew. I already was way before their respective episodes because it was just a pleasure to spend time with all of them. You never wanted their journey to end, but you knew it had to eventually. And when it does, you're left with this bittersweet feeling of emptiness, knowing that you've had to say goodbye to your time with them.
I love the ending
guy
of
who
this
jumps into the
series.
fire
Like
to
I actually
rescue
loved it.
someone. Anyone. Even when you know you're gonna get burned.
Cyberpunk Edgerunners is an example of what happens when you give a team gone mad with creativity the resources to do what they want to do. This is what it's like watching a show where every single person working on a project gives a shit. You can feel the love and excitement emanating from every single second of this runtime because absolutely no one half-arsed it. Everyone brought their A game, not a single person phoned it in. It's as much a passion project as it is a promotional piece for a gaming franchise everyone had already written off. This was the project we were promised when anime started to get more recognition globally. The prospect of some of the most talented names in the niche medium of anime we followed getting to go wild with some of the biggest names and franchises from a totally different medium was meant to give us more shows like this. And I hope that this isn't just the exception, but the standard for future collaborative anime projects to come. Bravo, guys.
I really hope we get more series like this or to this level of quality and not just fucking 10 more isekai trash series next season. Like, I don't care if Netflix and Disney Plus steal all the anime as long as it's fucking fire.
Not a single T-pose, 0 out of 10 worst adaptation of all time.
Alright boys, time for some Apex new split.